freaking first cut. Golly.
Welcome to the First Cut Podcast. I'm Rick Gehman, and this is your DFS preview for this week's Black Desert Championship, a brand new event at a brand new golf course with a longtime friend, Greg DuCharme. Hello, Greg.
Yeah, fortunately, a longtime friend. Glad to call you a friend, Rick. I'm excited for the Black Desert Championship. This is going to be fun. I watched the flyover of the golf course. The pictures look absolutely fantastic. I think this place is going to show. It's going to show really nice on TV. I'm looking forward to watching.
Lava rocks, Greg. Lava rocks will be out there. That's what comes into play if you're outside the fairway and the rough. And yes, it creates this beautiful red rock and scenic landscape with harsh contrasts and things that we do not see on a regular basis.
And things that we like on TV.
Yes.
And it is somewhat mountainous. There's quite a bit of elevation, it seems, in the golf course. Some dramatically downhill shots and some uphill holes as well, which should be fun to watch and should make for a tough walk for the players as well. A high strain week for all those guys out there wearing the whoop strap.
For the whoopsters, that's right.
High strain. Hopefully they're able to keep the recovery high too.
Good on you, Greg. This is not a sponsored segment by Whoop, but I would love it to be. Yeah, hit us up. We'll rock our Whoops all day long.
Yeah, are you a Whoop guy?
I've got my Whoop on right now.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. Whoop
I'll
life.
tell you what, Rick, I got into I was at a wedding a couple weeks ago, and there was a group of guys there. They saw I was wearing the Whoop strap. They added me to their community.
Nice.
And I had never been in one before.
Yes.
It's fantastic. There's a chat going on in there. It's hysterical.
How many people are in your group?
Like 10 or 12.
Okay. Because I got added to a group by via the Rick Run Good community.
Oh.
And there's about 30 of them. And one of them, I won't say his name, is a professional football player.
Really?
And he wins the strain every dang day, as you can imagine.
Oh my God. What's he putting up? What kind of numbers?
Oh my God. I mean, he's routinely like in the 16 and 17 strain. And it'll be like early in the morning. And I'm like, wow, he's like already worked out. He's gone to practice. He's done, like, it's crazy. No one ever beats him.
I'm a high strain guy too.
Yeah. So we sit and play for second, but it is nice to have that. And yeah, it's fun.
It gets you motivated.
Yeah. Gets you motivated indeed. Josh, if you want to share my screen, I've got the scorecard here. So this is the official scorecard for Black Desert Resort. That is the golf course, and resort indeed, because this course and the resort in general are both very new. They just finished this course about 18 months ago. They wrapped up the second 9 of the golf course. So it is fresh. There is no data. There is no information. There are no professional events just yet. But Greg, we should get used to this one a little bit. We're getting at least 4 years. That's the initial deal of this event, a 4-year deal, and the LPGA is going to play here next year. So it is a place that we will see on a somewhat regular basis moving forward.
Yes, which will be cool. I'm really excited to see how it plays, because again, you talk about some of these elevation changes, and that dramatically changes the way a scorecard looks and plays. You just look at these numbers on the card, and you have the par fives at between 570 and 590, and that's absolutely reachable. But some of them may be short irons into the green. If they're significantly downhill, it looks like one of them is. But 570, if that's playing uphill, maybe difficult to get home in 2. So those are just some examples of how the numbers on the scorecard can play dramatically different based on the topography of the golf course. And it's hard to get a look at that because the golf course is so new. There's been very few rounds played out there. And I can't wait to see the ball rolling around on this kind of property.
Yeah, you mentioned it, Greg. The elevation, 3,000 feet. It'll take this 7,300-yard golf course, make it about 7,100. And I think the fairways are about 30 yards wide, but you're getting maybe an extra 10 yards on both sides in terms of rough. The rough is not going to be a problem. It is a resort golf course. It's designed for me, not for Keith Mitchell, but that won't be a problem. The problem would be if you are very, very errant and you are in the lava rock. It's what we're also going to see next week at TPC Summerlin, where as long as, if you can keep it out of the desert, you're fine. But if you're in the desert, you're just totally screwed.
And again, this is, it could be daunting to look at it. When you look at all these holes, it's like, well, okay. It's almost like there's out of bounds left and right on every hole, but you have 80 yards in between to get the ball in play. So there should be plenty of room. If the wind really picks up and it's howling, I could see there being some really tough days out there. But all in all, because of the style of this golf course and what it's designed for, I don't see it being overly challenging in that respect. I think these guys are good enough. They're going to figure out how to get the ball in between those lava rocks. There's plenty of grass out there for them to find. And while some guys may struggle, I do think you're going to be able to see some 800-900 under par rounds out there because there's enough room.
What else? It's a Weiskopf design. Tom Weiskopf, Phil Smith.
Not Phil Smith, but Weiskopf also did TPC Scottsdale, which is one of the best venues on the PGA Tour. Now, TPC Scottsdale was designed for PGA Tour play. That's the idea behind TPC golf courses, especially the original ones. This one, Black Desert Resort, is designed for a resort play. So I'm very curious again to see how kind of, how the players are able to handle it. But I think it's going to be more of a birdie fest than it is Scottsdale can play difficult. You still see low scores out there, but it does present a really nice challenge for the tour players. I'm curious if this will do the same.
Speaking of those tour players, we are going to jump in. We are going to look over this field and we are going to try our best to figure it out. But first, we're going to take a quick break and hear a word from our partners.
At CBS Sports Golazo Network, we're bringing you the game.
Madness of Messi arrives!
Breaking down the game.
This is unlike anything else in the world.
And changing the game.
Get it all for nil.
That means free.
Whoa.
And all day long!
24/7.
And we're back. Greg, let's look at the cheat sheet on my website, rickrungood.com. And there are 4 golfers over $10,000 this week. Keith Mitchell, heartbreak on the 72nd hole last week. $10,600 is the most expensive. Seamus Power, $10,300. Kurt Kitayama is $10,200. And Beau Hossler is $10,000. Greg, there's one of these names that I was not expecting to see here. I can understand Keith Mitchell. I can understand Seamus Power. I can understand Beau Hossler. It's nothing against Kurt Kitayama. I was just mind blown to see him up here.
Yeah, I know. It is kind of surprising. We haven't seen him play since the Wyndham Championship. He did finish tied 6th at the 3M. But before that, really last season, it was just kind of okay finishes. He had a top 10 in Phoenix, Weiskopf design, top 10 at the 3M Open, and I believe that's it for the whole year. So it was an okay year. He never really got it going. That being said, I actually think there's a case to be made for Kurt Kitayama. It's a little bit of a dart throw. Again, first time out, but I guess the thing I'm going on here is, one, there's a tremendously high talent level with Kurt Kitayama. Also, maybe there's some comparisons to like a Mexico Open at Vedanta, another resort style golf course with some wide fairways. Distance could be an advantage. Again, you don't want to start missing fairways here, but I do think there's an advantage to be gained with some significant distance, which he has. I'm very excited to see what Kurt Kitayama brings to the table. I think he's an option, but he's not my favorite in the range.
Yeah, it's just, again, like I said, nothing against. It just feels like it's been forever since we've seen him play. The Wyndham Championship, the 3M Open were his last two starts, and he didn't play poorly. In fact, the last times we saw him, his tee to green numbers were pretty darn good. It just was not what I was expecting to see. So when we look at the rest of this 10K range, the other three are guys that all played last week, all played well, and now they're trying to back it up with another good start. So where would we go outside of Kurt Kitayma at the top of the board?
I think all three are options. Maybe it's because of the way it finished last week. Keith Mitchell has something trending in the right direction with the putter. I think that's a good sign. Beau Hossler seems to have something trending in the right direction with the driver. His driving performance was really strong last week. There should be enough room for him out here. The rest of his game looks sharp. Yet for some reason, Seamus Power is the one I'm drawn to more than the others. And I'm not sure if that makes a whole lot of sense, but I just love the way that he's rolled the ball lately. The rest of his game seems to be in really good shape as well. It just feels to me like Seamus Power is the top play after a nice quiet T11 last week.
He missed the cut at the U.S. Open, and since then has been very, very good, routinely gaining strokes from tee to green and also figuring out the putter. If you haven't figured that out, that is the entire game, tee to green plus putting. Yes. That goes really well, and the results have been coming in T20 or better at the Travelers, the John Deere, FedEx St. Jude, last week at the Sanderson Farms, and then he played an event at the Irish Open overseas and finished T26 there. So I'm with you. Seamus Power, you will probably hear me say a lot, like there are a lot of crossovers to the golf that we get in Southern Utah and the golf that we get in Las Vegas. It is kind of desert style. It is at high altitude. It is usually not much rough out there at all. This is going to feel like home. I think this is a good spot for him. I think next week is a good spot for him. I'm rolling with Power.
Yeah. So he's probably my top play. And like I said, if you wanted to go with a Keith Mitchell or a Beau Hossler, I wouldn't fault you for it. I can see positives with both of them. But I think Seamus is my top play.
Keith Mitchell has gained strokes putting for 3 tournaments in a row, which is the first time since mid 2022 he has accomplished this feat. Greg, is that real or is it feel?
Oh man, it's a tough question, Rick. I definitely think there's something real going on. There's some real improvement. You don't go gain 5.6 strokes putt in and putt the way he did on Sunday. I know he 3-putted the last, but the putter really kept him in the mix of that tournament. Now that being said, Sanderson Farms is a place where, poor putters can find form. The greens are just perfect there. I don't know what we're going to get out of this new golf course in Utah, but the fact that it's 3 in a row on 3 different grass types, different areas of the country, it's probably more of a good sign than a phony hot streak.
Let's continue. Let's go down to the 9K range because I think we're pretty similar on the 10K range. I think you're probably a little bit more bullish on Kurt Kitayma than I am, but we're both in on Seamus Power and interested to see what Keith Mitchell does. Here's the 9K range. Eric Van Rooyen, Chris Kirk, Patrick Fishburne, Ben Griffin, Steven Yeager, Ryan Fox, and we rounded out with Lucas Glover. 7 golfers here, Greg. How would you like to allocate your funds in this portion of the board?
I find EVR to be interesting. A lot of the stuff he's been doing lately has been just okay. His statistics have not been jumping off the page, but there's something about golf courses like this, birdie fests like this, resort style golf like this that seems to get EVR going. And maybe this is a bias, but I can't get out of my head what he did at El Camaleon, which I feel like it could be a pretty similar comparison. He went out and shot 28 on the back 9 on Sunday. A lot of the venues where he plays well tend to be scoring fests. He did it at the Rocket Mortgage. He did it in Myrtle Beach last year. Yeah. He played well in Mexico, and won the Worldwide Technology Championship as well at El Camaleon. So this just feels like a Eric Van Rooyen style of golf course. Perhaps his form hasn't been quite as strong, but I'm still willing to take a chance on him there. And then I think staying right up at the top with a Chris Kirk, just knowing what his upside is, I think he might be the most talented golfer in this field. But we haven't seen him a lot. We haven't seen him since the Tour Championship. The Tour Championship didn't go all that well. Before the playoffs, he took a lot of time off as well. So we haven't seen a whole lot of Chris Kirk. But I think you could take a chance on him, and he could put together a really nice week like he did at the Century last year. Another golf course, a long golf course, big wide fairways, plays a lot shorter than the number on the card, big greens at both of those venues. It wouldn't surprise me if Chris Kirk put together a nice tournament as well.
I was in on Patrick Fishburne last week, and I think I probably said it was a 2-week thing. You play him last week, and then you get him going back to Utah here, which is one of the few guys in this field who is from Utah, and see if he can put together another good start. He's got 3 top 6 finishes in his last 5. He struggled on the weekend in Jackson, but played well the first 2 days. And then, Greg, I want to look at Lucas Glover's stat profile here with you, because we know that Lucas will go as far as the putter allows him. If he loses 4 strokes putting, he's likely to finish between 23rd and 44th. If he gains strokes putting, he is live to win. And he has now gained strokes, and a lot of them, 3.5 and 4.5, in the first 2 starts of this fall swing. Would you rather be early here on Lucas Glover, thinking he can put together a 3rd in a row, or are you going to need to see something else?
I mean, is this even early?
I guess not. I don't know. He's got back-to-back. I mean, he's on T13, T3. I guess not.
You know, here's the thing with Lucas Glover for me. I looked at this, and when his putting is trending upward, and I believe he put a new putter in play at the start of the fall.
Yeah, it's still the lab putter, but it's a different model, right?
I believe so.
Yeah.
It's clearly working for him. He's clearly got confidence. He does check all the boxes. I worry about him on a big open golf course like this, because I think his advantage is so predicated on what he does with his accuracy off the tee.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there was a big advantage. Last week was a narrow golf course, and while there wasn't much rough, you know, there's still something to be said about putting the ball in play time and time again, never having to deal with tree trouble. That advantage gets mitigated a little bit here this week. So that was my main reason for concern with Lucas Glover. It's a birdie fest. It doesn't seem like the Lucas Glover style. The statistics certainly say play him. The style doesn't. And that's the one thing holding me back. And I'm not sure I'm right on that. You know, if that should mean, I'm sure I'm right on the analysis. I'm not sure if that means play him or sit him.
Right. No, I agree. It's a situation where, should he be penalized because his best strength is not magnified? Right. Which is always the $1 million question. Speaking of trees, I don't think there's a single tree on this golf course, by the way.
I didn't see one. It doesn't need them.
No, it doesn't. It just means find some shade, because it's going to be 90 and you're not going to have any access to it. Maybe bring an umbrella. I'm always worried about the shade situation.
Yeah, maybe it's a big bucket hat week.
Oh.
We're not going to see Lucas Glover in a bucket hat. And
Joel Damon week.
Right. Yeah, big Joel Damon week. Look, I think as you say this, Rick, upon further investigation, there should be a general rule of thumb, and recent form trumps course fit. This is a course that could fit any style of play from my vantage point, because it is a resort golf course. You got a guy with a hot putter who can be a great iron player. I don't think he should be penalized. I think Lucas Glover's a play.
Okay. Lucas Glover. I wore him down. I got Greg to endorse Lucas Glover. Took a little bit, but it happened. We are going to continue this conversation with the 8K range, the 7s, and those pesky 6s. But first, we're going to take a quick break and hear a word from our partners.
CBS Sports HQ, giving you college football coverage unlike anyone else.
We're talking Big Ten.
Pre- and post-game coverage.
Are you encouraged with the way that this team responded?
Along with breaking news.
A lot of movement in the rankings this week.
Highlights and expert analysis.
That streak could be in jeopardy here.
Sure. What was your main takeaway from this game? How impressive was his domination?
That really changed the football game.
Let's go ahead and have some more fun.
Another wild ending.
The chaos continues.
Turn to CBS Sports HQ.
And we're back. The 8K range. Oh, the names. Greg, Chan Kim, Michael, Thor Bjornsson, Emiliano Grillo, and Patrick Rogers at the top. JJ Spaun, fresh off his WD. Undisclosed reason. Last week is in the middle, 8,500. The bottom, Harry Hall, Harris English, Adam Svensson, Andrew Novak, Matt McCarty, and do not play Kevin Yu. He just withdrew. So he is out. You do not have to worry about him.
Okay. Interesting. I thought it could be another good Kevin Yu week, but he's off the board.
Hey, why play? Go celebrate. Enjoy a week off.
Enjoy a week off, right? I mean, you kind of reach the peak. So good for him. Takes my rule, which is now just dramatically in question, takes it right out of the equation for me. I like that. Look, Rick, Chan Kim to me, who's right up here at the top, I think you can still kind of fit him in every week. He had a down week ball striking, still finished tied 33rd at the Sanderson Farms. I think he's got a lot of good things going for him. I still think he's a play, like he has been the last 3 weeks.
I think this is a good sign, right? So he's been playing great golf. We have documented that time and time again. He loses 4 strokes on approach, which is one of his best skills, and he still finishes 33rd in Jackson. That to me is a good sign. Find a way to get the ball in the hole. He's not completely reliant on some set of skills. He can do it at least a couple of different ways. He has put together a lot of green flags for me the last couple of months.
Yeah, I think that's right. So Chan Kim, I really like that play. I'm starting to see a little turnaround with Emiliano Grillo. Okay. So at 8,700, I think this is a fair price for him. He's gained strokes on approach in his last 3 events, 2 or more. He's gained strokes in 4 out of his last 5 off the tee, which is looking much better. And he's coming off T11 at the Sanderson Farms, where he actually found a good bit of success on the greens.
He did.
So I've been waiting for this year, which has been kind of blah from Emiliano Grillo, to kind of turn around, and it feels like it is. So this may be a hair early, but I think you can afford that at the $8,700 price tag. I do like Emiliano Grillo as well.
Yeah, there are some interesting values here. Guys that you feel fairly comfortable paying these prices for. I mean, JJ Spaun, who I mentioned withdrew last week, undisclosed reason, he'd been playing great golf. I would love it if somebody on site could ask him, like, hey, JJ, you good? What's up with the WD? Played 1 round last week, wasn't very good, but other than that, he's been great. Greg, does something like this terrify you? Because I get pretty nervous about it.
Yeah, I typically will avoid. I mean, it's got to be typically, if I'm going to play a guy that just WD'd, his name is Hideki Matsuyama, or his name is so big we get information about it, like Scotty Scheffler.
Right.
He withdrew, but now he's fine. Oh, okay.
Right.
I'll still play him.
Okay.
With JJ Spaun, I don't think he's quite at that level. And I think you have other options around him, like Grillo, who's, $200 more than him. Harry Hall, who's $100 cheaper. I'm very interested in Harry Hall as well. You mentioned, Rick, TPC Summerlin. That's where Harry Hall plays, right?
He does. This is Harry's a 2-weeker this week and next week are really good setups for him. Yeah, he's going to get a home game next week out of TPC Summerlin, and he's already a great putter. Already has a great short game. The tee to green numbers recently, Greg, have gotten much better. That is where he found that win at the ISCO back in July, and I like this too. He's been playing golf. He did not make the playoffs, so guess what he did? Played 3 events on the DP World Tour, couple of big time events, and played well. Now he's coming home probably with a lot of confidence. I'm pushing the chips in. Harry Hall, baby. Let's go.
Yeah, he gets, 2 top 20s out of that trip overseas. It's 5 out of his last 7 events. He's gained strokes approaching the green, which is a big stat. You combine that with a guy who can putt really well, and you got a little birdie combo brewing.
Yeah, and let's be real here. Harry was routinely a loser in those categories, right? The ball striking prowess has significantly improved over the last 7 or 8 months.
And he's maintained the putting.
Yes.
Sometimes guys that don't hit it great can have great putting stats, but it doesn't always mean they're really a great putter. It can mean they're a great grinder. But when they start hitting 13, 14 greens in a round, can they still gain strokes on the greens? And what we've seen with Harry Hall is during this time where he started to hit the ball well, he's maintained the putting prowess, which, it does confirm that, yes, he's a great putter, and it significantly raises the potential.
So Harry has been kind of the guy that I've earmarked. Every model that I've run this week, Andrew Novak pops up in. So I've got his name favorited. I've got him checked here. Anything else we need to discuss in the 8K range before we keep going?
And Novak was the last guy on my list, Rick.
Okay.
I was curious about Kevin Yu before he withdrew as well. But with Andrew Novak, the ball striking just continues. The iron play specifically, he's not getting a lot out of it. But I'm willing to, at 8,100, I'm definitely willing to throw some chips in there. Maybe not all of them, like you are with Harry Hall, but I'm willing to throw some chips in there on Andrew Novak.
As excited as I was about the 8K range, I don't know if I share that same level of excitement for the 7K range. I won't read them all because there's a lot, but it's essentially Doug Gim, Matty Schmid, Justin Lauer at the top. The middle, that's your Mark Hubbards, your Max McGreevy's, and then the bottom of the range at $7,000 even, Luke List, KH Lee, Justin Suh, amongst others. So a lot of names here, Greg. In fact, there are 36 golfers in this 7K range. How would you like to attack from this perspective?
Yeah, I do think there are some options here. And while I'm not in love with it, just like you, I think this is going to be an important range in your build, especially if you like someone in the 10K range. If you're not comfortable with starting a lineup with Eric Van Rooyen or Chris Kirk or somebody in the 9K range, you're going to need to lean pretty heavy on the 7K range, because when we get to the 6K range, I'm guessing you don't have hard eye emojis either.
There's like one guy I might consider.
It's tough. It's tough.
It's really bad.
But I think the 7K does have some value. So again, to our Lucas Glover conversation, you take form over fit. If you abide by that rule, Justin Lauer is absolutely a play at 7,800. In his last 4 events, he's gained strokes approaching the green. In 2 of those 4, he's gained over 3 strokes. He's got a T28, a T7, and back-to-back tied 33rds before that. His putting has been phenomenal for a long time. He's gained strokes putting every event since the U.S. Open.
Yeah,
and more than 1 stroke. In most cases, it's been 2 or more. It's been very, very good across the board for Justin Lauer. I'm willing to go in on him. And also at 7,800, Mac McClure. McClure Meisner. Mac in place of McClure there.
Yeah, it goes by Mac for short.
Yeah, he's been phenomenal with the iron play as well, and has an ability to spike with the putter. It's been a little inconsistent, but I think his results and his iron play, that combination makes him a good play this week.
Yeah, I mean, great numbers, dark green in the spots that you would want to see them, the ability to lose 4, gain 4 with the putter, which is certainly not a bad thing when you're trying to come from this range. I've got 2 guys that I need to pick your brain on.
Yeah.
Let's start with Daniel Berger. $7,700, a name that we have not talked about in a long time, is coming off his best result since he's come back from his injury. So remember, he had like that, I don't know what the final number was, 19, 20 months or something like that, in which he took off from the 2022 US Open until earlier this year. By far the best result, not only in terms of finishing position, but the way that he gained across the board in all 4 categories. That is vintage Daniel Berger. If you reset everybody in this field to their 200 or 100 round baseline, I know it's a lot, but Berger is by far the best player in this field. This would be, you're either trying to be early and catch that because Berger's back, or last week was more of a flash in the pan.
This is a concerning one for me. I mean, he did get to 20 under par last week, which is a great sign. Starts to see some birdies fall. It hits it well, drives it really well. Is it a Lucas Glover situation where he's so accurate? Is he going to lose a little advantage there this week? Perhaps. But what I have been really concerned with Daniel Berger, especially because when he first came back, he was hitting the ball so well. The putter just let him down.
Yeah.
And it stepped up again last week. So I'm hesitant on Daniel Berger. I'm hesitant to look at the wide range scale, 200 rounds. I need to see a little more. I don't think I can be early on him, especially with the guys around him. I mean, Patton Kizzire is also 7,700, Rick.
He was the other one, Greg.
Yeah. I'm much more comfortable with Patton Kizzire, who something was going in the right direction for a while, probably since like the CJ Cup Byron Nelson. He's got limited starts. Things start to turn in the right direction. He starts hitting it better. He finds it with the putter and wins, maintains it the following week. I'm willing to go back to the well on Patton Kizzire, and I'm probably more bullish on him than Berger.
Yeah. So sometimes you get a guy who wins and, did we see it coming? Can he sustain it? Is there any juice left to squeeze? I think the answer is yes. There is still juice left to squeeze on Patton Kizzire. I mean, he wins the Pro Tour, plays really well, finishes T11 at the Sanderson Farms, and he was kind of trending in this direction. Gained 7.5 strokes from tee to green at the Barracuda a couple of starts before his victory. I think that there is plenty. Like, this price is not high enough for Patton Kizzire, who's got a win in a T11 in his last two. 7,700 is not nearly high enough.
I tend to agree. And I'm very curious how the win in the fall affects these guys going forward, because there's really, there's limited points at stake. You can get into the Aon next 10. That's an important thing. So you may have that to chase, but it's a rare situation where you win and you're done, right? You're not necessarily secure to make the playoffs the next year. It's not like you win the Century if you're Chris Kirk last year and you're going to make it to the playoffs with 750 points right out of the gate. So I'm very curious how these guys kind of progress after a win in the fall, because they still have a lot of work to do. And I think that could be a really good thing for Patton Kizzire.
Let's roll on. Going down this $7,000 range, what names stick out to you?
Yeah, a couple more. Ben Coles, I think, is a very interesting name.
7,300.
Yeah, at 7,300. He's right there with some really good results lately, specifically with the iron play. His last three, he's gained at least 2 strokes approaching the green. I like that. He's coming off a T16 at the Sanderson Farms. So I like where his game is, not as much as Lauer or Kizzire. The other one, Rick, we talked about him last week. Patrick and I talked about him for the Sanderson Farms, and it went okay. I think there's a lot more juice to squeeze, and that's Nick Hardy.
Oh,
typically would not go here.
I don't think I even considered Nick Hardy this week.
No, but
look, interesting.
Yeah, it's just great numbers. The putting hasn't gotten there yet, but it looks to me like it's getting a little better.
He's trying.
Yes, he's trying. And we might have a Patton Kizzire situation brewing with Nick Hardy.
I can't believe he's hitting it this well.
Yeah, he is just a staple of Team No Putt, and it's got to be so frustrating. But I'm seeing a guy that's starting to get a lot more confidence, and we could see the talent that when we first started seeing Nick Hardy, it was like, this guy's going to be can't miss. It was anything but. And now I think we're starting to see him trend in the right direction.
Yeah, he's priced in a spot between CT Pan, Cheston Hadley, Michael Kim. Not only are his advanced metrics better than those guys, but he's also got just better results coming in. So looks like a pretty decent price for Nick Hardy. I thought there was one, maybe not. Okay. Anybody at the bottom of this range that is worth a click?
Lowest in the 7K range that I would consider would be at 7,200, Henrik Norlander. And again, I don't necessarily love this, but he's been hitting it well when he's gotten playing opportunities. He's been driving it really well. His iron play has been great. Putter's been, on the slow side, which you could see in the results. You see a lot of made cuts, but not a lot of really high finishes. Yet he still has the ability to put together top 25s, top 15 kind of finishes. I think Henrik Norlander, in a way, has been very consistent and is actually surprisingly a safe play at 7,200.
$7,200. He is the same price as David Skins. I thought I was going to get you a little David Skins action, Greg. You saw he was like the God, it feels like forever ago. He was a first round leader, wasn't he? Shot a 60.
He shot 60, and it just kind of faded. I like the potential of David Skins. I'm starting to worry about his closing ability. So he's one of those guys, you mention him, plays great early in the week. You look like a superhero, but you're not getting the full value of fantasy points out of him.
Let's just stare aimlessly at the $6,000 range, which has names like Carson Young, Dylan Wu, Joel Damon, Lonto Griffin at the top. The middle of the range at 6,500. That's Sung Yul No. That's Troy Merritt. It's Wilson Furr. And then the min-price golfers, we've got a international captain here, Mike Weir, teeing it up, Tyson Alexander, Eric Barnes, amongst others. Oh boy. I've got one name, but it's really two guys that I'm half in on. So that equals one.
I put down three guys. I don't feel very strongly about any of them.
Okay.
One may look like a complete dart throw. But
I love it already. Yeah, let's talk about it.
One, I'm starting to feel a whole lot better. Lonto Griffin.
He is one of mine as well.
All right, so you're half in on Lonto.
He's one of my halves. That's right.
Things are getting better for him.
Yes.
Plain and simple. He's really starting to drive it a whole lot better, which is a strength of his. He came out on tour before his injury, was a driver putter guy, and the driver is starting to come back. The putter has not been consistent, but it's starting to come back. And I think what I'm seeing, even with his iron play, I'm seeing a guy with a golf swing that is working, that is functional.
I'll just say this: there's not many guys in this range who have 4 straight made cuts, and he does.
And one of them's a top 10.
And with that, he's gained strokes from tee to green in all 4, and he's gained strokes with the putter in half of them. That is about as good as you're going to get. Just complete surface level statistical analysis of this range. That's about as good as you're going to get.
Yep. I completely agree. So we're back to the old matrix. Is Lonto Griffin in the 6K range? Yes, play him. No, sit him.
Yes. So it's back this week. That's right.
All right. Now, I can go down to 6,700. All right.
Okay.
Kevin Chappell. Another guy, man. He's got, you'll be surprised. He's made 6 cuts in a row.
Wow, Kevin. You're right. I am surprised.
Now, one of them was on the European Tour.
That's okay. That field might be better than the field he gets this week. Czech Masters.
Czech Masters, T38. Driver's been looking a little better. Ball striking's looking okay. Putter this is a guy that used to captain Team No Putt. He's got something going on with the putter.
I know. Right? Yeah, he used to be my guy.
So, again, I don't feel great about this at all, but I like the made cuts in a row. He's shown an ability in all areas of the game to have success. And perhaps he could handle a golf course like this. Go make a whole bunch of birdies. So he's an option.
I will disclose my other half It is Sung-Yil No. He is $6,500. I think so. There are a couple of types of players in this field. There are some guys, Greg, that we have not seen since the Wyndham Championship. And there are some that kept playing for one reason or another. They made the playoffs, they went overseas, or they went to the Korn Ferry Tour and went through their playoff system, which is what Sung-Yil No did. So Sung-Yil No, after the 3M Open, played 6 Korn Ferry Tour events. 3 of them were top 20s, including the Korn Ferry Tour Championship. So he makes it all the way there. I think, don't quote me on this. Excuse me. I think he was one of the 30 to get his card, wasn't he? Do you remember that?
I'd be half guessing. You're half in.
Okay.
I'd be half guessing if I said yes.
I'll look it up. But just staying in form, playing good enough golf. He might be playing 5 or 6 starts more recently than some of these guys that we have not seen since the Wyndham Championship. That is enough for me.
He just finished tied 18th on a golf course that's a lot more difficult. In estimation, it's going to be a lot more difficult than they play this week as well. So perhaps it is a good play. Hey, I'm okay with it.
I'm sad to report that he was not one of the 30.
Okay.
I thought he was.
Okay. I'm glad I didn't say, yeah, just agree. All right. I got one more guy for you.
Okay.
This is part of the game that you never mentioned. I just like to play in the strange case that you ask, how low would you go?
Okay.
I always try to find the guy as what is the minimum that you would ever consider. And I think it's 6,400 and it's Peter Quest.
There's 2 Peters at 6,400. I really did not know which one you were going to say.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Peter Quest, $6,400. Got him. Okay.
Yes. Now he has not really been able to get his PGA Tour card.
No.
His performance on the Korn Ferry Tour has not been great. But I'm on your holy grail, Rick. And if you filter out Korn Ferry Tour, you just put in just his PGA Tour starts.
Yeah.
This is what the last 4 look like. Miscut at the Byron Nelson, T9 at the Punta Cana Championship down at Corrales, T10 at the Valero Texas Open, T13 at the RSM Classic. There's something about Peter Quest where he just seems to step up when he gets a shot on the PGA Tour. And I like this. There's been, top 25 at the Sanderson Farms last year in 2023, tied 4th at the Rocket Mortgage Classic in 2023, tied 14th at the AT&T Byron Nelson. He's not afraid of playing out on the PGA Tour.
No.
And it feels like it's a better tour for him than the Korn Ferry Tour. And I'm not talking finances here. He just seems to play better when he gets out on the PGA Tour.
Yeah, and I think he's probably Monday qualified into half of those. He's a player. He's a fun guy. Somebody in the chat asked about Will Gordon. Let's just do a cursory look here. T48 last week at the Sanderson Farms. 3 missed cuts prior to that. The putter is a massive problem. And the tee to green play is a massive problem half the time. Not for me.
Will Gordon in the 6K range. What's his price this week?
6,600.
So at a price like that, there are some kind of venues I would consider him. And they have to have an abnormally large quantity of long irons, which for a guy that hits it a long way is very rare.
Interesting.
But if you look at his numbers, the more traditional stats, which I rarely find value in, he tends to do really well with long irons. Again, he's a long hitter, and there's a lot of wedge opportunities for long hitters. Not a great opportunity for him. But when you get him to Vedanta, he can play well. Houston, he can play well. So those are the areas where I'll consider him. I think there's going to be a lot of shorter clubs into the greens here this week. Just my initial feel.
One of the world's foremost content creators, Wesley Bryan, has made both cuts this fall. T13 at the Pro Court, T37 last week. In fact, last week he gained throughout the bag. I am a believer that there are an infinite number of golfer like styles that could win this week. Wesley's style would be very different than Will Gordon's style.
Very, very different. He might have a lot of long irons this week.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not a big. I wonder what Wesley Bryan's real ceiling is. I know he came in second in Punta Cana. Maybe his ceiling's higher than I give him credit for. He's won on the PGA Tour. What's the best we could get out of him?
He's a past Paul. He's a past Palm king. His last two top tens have been Punta Cana and Puerto Rico. Then we go back to 2017. So,
yeah, I'm probably a no. Probably realistically, just avoid the 6K range. Probably really where that's how I'm going to try to build the lineups. No 6K guys.
Kevin Kisner and Mike Weir in this field. Who wins that? A matchup between Kevin Kisner and Mike Weir? Weir has been beating up on the old men, on the seniors. So he's been playing well in that format. Kevin Kisner hasn't played a lot. And when he has, it hasn't been very good. Who wins Mike Weir versus Kevin Kisner?
Well, we're talking a 36-hole match here because I think they both missed the cut.
Yeah, I agree.
Tough. I mean, you go out there and the cut gets to 5 under, which you very easily could in an event like this. You're sitting at 1 over or something. I got to think Mike Weir is going to finish a little stronger than Kevin Kisner, but I'm going to go with Kevin Kisner.
I'm going to go with Mike Weir.
All right.
I'm not like super happy about it, but I also, here's the other thing, and this is what matters. I think Weir will care more. So when this goes sideways for both of them and Kevin Kisner says, all right, I'll see you in the booth on Saturday and Sunday or whatever. I don't know if Kevin Kisner is grinding for me. I think Mike Weir might grind for me.
Yeah. Like I say, they go shoot one. Let's say they shoot 1 over or even, and they get an afternoon tee time on Friday and the cut line's looking like it's going to be 6 under. That's a real, it's probably not going to happen. So who puts in more effort? I would give the nod to Mike Weir on that. But maybe Kiz fills it up on the greens. I don't know.
Who knows? This stuff never makes any sense.
Terrible.
It's going to look great on television. Should be a load of fun. We will be back for a Tuesday mega preview pod, a Sunday recap episode. And remember, you can send us your golf or non-golf related questions, concerns, or comments directly to Josh's email address. It is firstcutpodcast@gmail.com. I assume that is also in the description if that is too much for you to think about and you just want to click it. But other than that, Greg, I think we pat ourselves on the back and we've done a great job today.
I think so too, Rick. And we'll keep our eye on these guys. I have a list here of all the guys that we talked about so we can reference it again on Sunday.
Beautiful. Okay. Well, big thanks to producer Josh. Does all the hard work behind the scenes. That's Greg DuCharme. You can find him on Twitter at TheRealGFD, and you can find me at Rick Run Good. This has been The First Cut. We'll catch you next time.